Jay, let's get straight to it. You were part of that England squad in Euro 96 that lost to Germany. So how good was it to see England beat them in a knockout game for the first time in 55 years last night?
So good, mate. I was so happy for the players, happy for the manager, obviously, with him missing a penalty all those years ago, 25 years ago. There's some redemption for him to a certain extent. It won't make it any better, but he'll be so proud of his players. And, you know, I just remember when we lost against Germany in Euro 96, the feeling that we had of everyone's got to go home. It was like nobody wanted to leave what was an incredible party, with it being at home, being at Wembley, all the games. These players didn't want it to end. And I'm sure the feeling this morning, getting up, going to training, they'll be incredible. Everyone's involved, the subs, the players that have started the games. And I think Gareth has done so well because he's picked a team, to be honest, right? You know football, that is, not everybody's always predicted. He's picked his team. I think for many years we've had the press, we've had pundits saying to the manager, this is what you should do, and sometimes they go with the pressure. Whereas Gareth yesterday, I wouldn't say it was before the game, a lot of people were like, well, that's not the team I wanted to see. But it worked. You know, player 3 at the back was perfect. The system, the players that he brought into the equation as well, like Jack Grealish, changed the game. And I think it was so important that he's done that. And that gives you a belief as not just the player. I think it gives the whole nation a belief that we just got to let the players and the manager just keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah. Jamie, we have to mention Raheem Sterling. 3 goals in 4 games for him at this tournament. Just how key has he been for England?
He's been great, Bella. I mean, right place, right time. He's just got that knack, you know, he knows when to get into the right areas. You know, all his goals have just been from, like, poacher's goals, if you like, you know, getting into those areas where just between the whips of the post that we've seen great goal scorers, you know, over time do. He knows exactly where to be, the right place. Normally we're expecting Harry Kane to pop up with those important goals, but I feel it was so important that Harry got his goal. But Raheem, you know, has been just brilliant for us. Effervescent. He's always, you know, getting into good spaces, shooting from distance, and you can see the confidence is you know, running through his veins. And I think the manager deserves a lot of credit. I think before, because he hasn't had the season that he'd have liked at Man City, so he perhaps hasn't had the game time, but I think he's almost, to a certain extent, playing with a point to prove. He knows that, you know, because people maybe question, should he start, should he not, but he's shown, and that's his home as well, that's his manner, and he's doing it exactly the right way. So I'm so pleased for Raheem, you know, the goals that he's getting. And right now, he'll believe in every game. Ukraine on Saturday, he'll think, I'm going to score in this game as well. So, mate, you know, long may it continue, Bella.
Yeah, if he carries on, he'll end up getting the golden boot. But you touched on it there. Harry Kane also got his first goal of the tournament. How important was that, Jay, in relieving the pressure on the England captain? And I also read that you likened Kane's situation to that of Alan Shearer in Euro 96.
It was similar, Mark, because before the tournament there was a lot of talk about maybe Alan Shearer starting or not. Excuse me, and the fact that Terry Venables at the time was a manager, had so much faith in him. He went into that Switzerland game believing, obviously scored in the first game, and then it just like a snowball effect. Now, I do think if we're to win this thing, we're going to need Harry Kane to pop up with a few more goals. He's so important to us. And I think for the manager, because when he picked up that little knock after about 60-odd minutes, I was thinking, is he maybe going to bring him off? Marcus Rashford was getting warmed up, and he kept him on, and it was a brilliant goal. And I love the connection it seems to have with Grealish and Kane. And we need to make sure that we keep giving him service, because although Harry hasn't been at his best, he's the first to admit, and there's a fine line between maybe looking, you know, sharp and not getting the chances, and everyone then thinks, well, is he tired? Is he injured? What's wrong with Harry Kane? He hasn't had a lot of service, Mark. Let's be totally honest. That one quality ball that comes into the box, he scores, and that's what we've missed. So I do think that Jack Grealish gives us such an edge when he comes on, because he sees passes early, he draws players into space, he gets, you know, 2v1s all the time, and I'm sure that Harry probably thought when he came on, that was my chance to score, because as much as it was a brilliant performance, I do believe when Jack Grealish came on, that's the moment when I think the whole crowd lifted, and it was like, I think watching it as a spectator, as a fan, I thought this is now our time, and Jack gave us that little bit of edge, and you could see that Harry Kane was obviously delighted to have him on the pitch as well.
Well, it sounds like it could be our time, Jamie, because we've got some crowds behind us singing "Football's Coming Home." You probably didn't hear it, but they definitely think it is. Just on Grealish, Jamie, do you think he should be starting?
Personally, I'm a huge fan of his. I would start him in every game. I think he gives us that X factor that not many players do. But when we have a squad depth that we have, Bella, there's a lot of different options. Now, against Ukraine, we might have to play in a slightly different way. They look very tired after the end of the game. They played extra time. It feels to me we're going to have to get more attacking players onto the pitch. And that would maybe necessarily mean, Mason Mount would be his first port of call. He started the other games before he picked up his obviously the ban with COVID. So it's a situation that I think Mason Mount will certainly start. I would love to see Jack Grealish play. Saka did some lovely things yesterday in those wide areas. Raheem Sterling is, undroppable. You can't leave him out. So it's a case of that Gareth's going to have to manage his squad really well. What we've got probably more than other teams is really fresh players. The defence in itself is, that picks itself whether you go to a 4 or a 3. We've seen in the confidence that we have. We haven't conceded a goal yet, which is so important. I personally, what's happened with the situation yesterday, you've got Jack. Of course, every player wants to start, but he might even be buying into this. OK, if I get 25-minute cameo, I'll come on, make a difference, and we can score a goal. So there is so many good feelings in this team right now. Everyone's in it together. And I think before the tournament start, we might have thought, well, we're going to see more of Rashford, more of Sancho. But Gareth has looked at the other players that are maybe training better, showing more, and wanting to, looking in a better shape in terms of their physicality in training. And that's why they're getting the edge ahead of the others.
Yeah, he's got it right for sure. Jay, I want to ask you, obviously, being a midfielder yourself, Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips, they played together. Maybe not something that people would have predicted at the start of the tournament, those two together, quite defensive. But, I mean, what kind of impact have they made? Did you expect it to work so well?
Well, I think that I've been at a couple of games right here. I was at the first game against Croatia, and Calvin Phillips was man of the match. He absolutely run the game. His passing, his range of passing. He's probably the best passer of the ball we've produced in a long time in this country. Long and short. He strikes the ball so sweet. And I think he's been very good. The last couple of games he's been slightly quieter. I think Declan probably had his best 45 minutes second half. You could see that he started to get a little bit of confidence, because you do get knocked at times as a player. And I think, I've spoken to Declan a little bit during this tournament. The pressure playing for your country in these games is immense. I played in the England-Scotland game 3 times, and you have everything to lose and nothing to gain to a certain extent. Everyone just thinks you're going to go and win 2 or 3-0. And if you don't play well, everyone then starts to look at the individuals. He didn't do this, he should do more. So the pressure comes on. And I think a lot of the players, from what I've heard, have sort of come off social media, trying to not get too involved in the noise that surrounds a major tournament, because everyone thinks they know best. Everyone wants to pick a system. Everyone wants to pick the players. And that's why I think as a manager and a group of players, you have to remain really calm. And I think Declan yesterday will probably analyse his game. I think that was probably my best 45 minutes. I saw him driving with the ball, keeping it simple, playing forward as much as possible. And it is difficult, because naturally if things aren't going quite well, you play with a little bit of fear. But I do think that there are certain times, I hark back to watching videos of 1966 when the team that was picked with the wingless wonders. Everyone wanted wide players to play, and he didn't do that, Alf Ramsey. And look at the benefits that we got. So I think we have to trust in what Gareth's doing right now. And if he feels that the best way to win this tournament is to maybe play with 2 defensive midfield players, we have to trust that, because right now we're in a brilliant position. We've got some good games to come. Fingers crossed, if we can obviously navigate through these next 2, which should, in paper, we're going to be red hot favourites to get that. And then, who knows what can happen from there. So I think we've got to enjoy this right now. This is such a brilliant time for all the players, and I do think that especially when you've got Jordan Henderson, the captain of Liverpool, not playing, I think it shows you how much Gareth rates these 2.
And as you referenced there, Jamie, Declan Rice did actually mention that post-match as well, just how much pressure is on the players. So it's Ukraine for them next. How much confidence can they take from last night's win into the quarter-final?
Yeah, they should have so much belief right now. As I said, Bella, it's a matter of just managing the players. The sports scientists will be taking care of the ones that played today, just maybe having a bit of a swim, ice baths, getting yourself ready for the next game. I play a little bit of golf with Andrei Shevchenko, so we've missed him at the golf club, but I think he's doing such a good job for the team. They just scraped through, obviously, with 3 points. And in that game yesterday was another brilliant blockbuster game. That in terms of extra time, that goal was such an amazing moment. You felt a little bit for Sweden, obviously, with the sending off and everything went before it. But I thought, as soon as it went to extra time, I was just like, that's great news for England, because you could see so many players going down with fatigue. Obviously, there was a couple of injuries. So fingers crossed things are going well. It's the first time we're obviously having to go away from Wembley. We're going to have to do a little bit of travelling now. But that should suit the players. It shouldn't be a major problem. These guys are used to playing in Europe and big tournaments. And so I'm hoping that they're going to be quite relaxed and almost looking forward to maybe a change of scenery, and then fingers crossed back to Wembley in midweek.
Yeah. Do you think Gareth will name the same starting 11? Do you think he'll keep the 3 or the 5 at the back, however you want to look at it, or do you think he'll go back to a 4, Jay?
My guess is he'll go back to a 4. But what this has done, right, is it's given us trust in both formations. I think the players know, going forward, obviously, if you played against, I don't want to look too far ahead, but if you were to maybe get to a final and you played against Italy or or Belgium or whatever, you might have to match up with their systems and how they play. And Gareth did that so well yesterday. But I just think I'll be surprised if he doesn't go back to a 4. But I'd have no problem. I've always been a big fan of playing 3 at the back. I think it suits us. I thought Kyle Walker was excellent yesterday in that formation. You've got Trippier or Reece James that can play, right wing back. Chilwell plays left wing back for Chelsea, or Shaw. And I thought Shaw played, second half. He started to enjoy it a little bit more. He got further forward, and I think we sort of got a little bit more confidence getting up the pitch. So I'm so relaxed about whatever system he wants to play. And I feel that that's whatever he believes in, and whatever with the personnel that we have, you can make it work because of the confidence right now. It's not almost about the systems, it's about the players feeling confident and making sure we do the right thing. But, I wouldn't have a problem either way. If he wants to go to a 4 and then you get back to the system that has been obviously so beneficial in getting through to this point, then that would be fine as well. So it's just a case of getting the right players. As I say, I wouldn't be surprised if Mason Mount starts. That's a go-to player for Gareth throughout this, not just this tournament, but this campaign. So that would be the one player that I feel he might make a change. Of course, I'd like to see Grealish, but all of a sudden you start picking 12, 13 players on the pitch. It's going to be hard for him because you want to make sure that you've still got that defensive stability, because no matter what we talk about, we've had clean sheets, and that breeds confidence. The keeper's done well. I was a bit worried about him before the tournament, but he's done ever so well. He's looked really calm and assured. Harry Maguire coming in was, I thought, he was incredible yesterday, the way that he marshalled the back 3. So many positives in this team right now.